Bacon, and our next guest seems to have lived her life on the stage and screen, from co-presenting The Big Breakfast to starring in West End musicals, including Chicago, Legally Blonde and Tell Me on a Sunday, to starring in Strictly Come Dancing, of course. A favourite of Andrew Lloyd Webber, Denise Van Outen has now co-written her very own one-woman show. It's called, as we said, Some Girl I Used to Know, and she is on tour with it across the United Kingdom right now. Denise Van Outen, good afternoon. Welcome to Five Live.
Good afternoon. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on, and it's good to know and find out a bit more about this one-woman show. How tricky was it to get this into production in the first place? How big a journey was it?
Well, it's taken 2 years for me to get it onto the stage. We had to take a bit of time out because I did Strictly Come Dancing in 2012. So I had to take out about 6 months of my sort of through the writing process. But yeah, I had this idea in my head, and I've had it there for a few years since doing Tell Me on a Sunday, which is a one-woman show. And it's all about relationships, a woman dating in her 20s. It's the Andrew Lloyd Webber production. And also, having watched Shirley Valentine in the 80s when I was younger, I just loved it. And I loved the whole style of it, that Shirley talks to the audience as though they're her friends. And also the storyline, you know, it just was very poignant at the time, and really most women could relate to it. So I wanted to write a character that was relatable for women, and, you know, just a kind of a really heartfelt story really about relationships and dating and what it's like to be a woman of my age. I'm coming up to 40, and I've made a lot of different choices to some people where I've focused on my career, and, you know, you put sort of your personal life on hold a little bit sometimes when you do that. And I've, like so many other women who've done exactly the same, I felt there wasn't really a voice for people like me, so I wanted to sort of tackle the issue as to whether or not, you know, through this sort of fun play, whether a woman can have everything.
You say that it's similar in that you've played that one-woman show before in Tell Me on a Sunday, but am I right in thinking Tell Me on a Sunday is all music?
It's all song. It's a 30-song cycle.
This is a bit more sort of out there. You're, as you say, you're doing a bit of Shirley Valentine. You're talking to the audience, which I imagine it can be a little bit more brutal. You can see faces and eyes and everything.
Of course, yeah. I really connect with the audience. But the thing is, I mean, it's scary. It is really daunting. It's the scariest thing I've done. I think because of my presenting background, I probably feel quite at ease doing that. Then maybe, you know, other actresses say to me they'd be too scared to do that. So I don't mind doing that. But I am telling a story. I'm playing a fictional character. And yeah, it just really seems to work, and it's nice because there are some really funny moments in this play as well, but it's also quite touching, and it takes a bit of a dramatic twist in the second act, which obviously I can't give too much.
No, don't give it all away, yeah.
But it's all set in a hotel room, and it's tackling, you know, about temptation. It's all about this woman who's she's practically my age, and she's successful in her career, and she's married, and her husband Paul wants her to slow down and have a family with him. She's still very career focused. But she knows that she's getting to that time in her life when she does need to think about whether she wants to start a family or not. But while she's in the hotel room and she's talking to the audience, she gets a message on Facebook. She gets poked on Facebook.
Very up to date.
Yes, very up to date. By an ex-love of hers who was like, you know, the guy that she really fell for when she was in her 20s. And he's in town and he's proposing to come and meet with her in the room. And it's all about whether or not she meets up with this guy and what she's going to do about her current relationship. And of course, the audience are sucked in with the story because they're sort of at the end of Act 1. I can hear them through the curtains sort of going, do you think he's going to go to the room? Do you think she's going to meet up with him? And I think it's one of those things that...
It's nice that they get involved in it like that, though, isn't it?
They do. They really do. And you can hear them afterwards, you know, talking about it. And I think it's one of those things that most women at some point in their life, you know, they've been with their girlfriends and they've reminisced about past loves, or this has actually happened to them. I've had this happen to a friend of mine who, a guy who she hasn't seen for years, who she met on a holiday, actually got in touch with her, and she was debating whether to meet with him.
See, so it is in that way that's sort of been written into the play. And the character is called Stephanie Canworth. You said
Yes.
She's sort of the same age as you. She's a successful woman. Is it autobiographical in any way, this?
I think the emotional side of it, definitely, I've had to channel my own experiences into it. But unlike Stephanie, I'm not on Facebook. There are lots of fake accounts, so I've never been poked from an ex-love.
You are a Twitterer, though, aren't you? You are social media.
I do tweet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do. And, you know, I wanted to... That was the thing that I wanted to talk about as well, is that, you know, the fact that how that has influenced so many people's lives now. And the idea in the show is that she's, you know, because I'm talking to the audience reminiscing about the 80s and 90s, and that was something else that I felt like there wasn't really anything out there that was talking about the 90s and the music. And, you know, there's some great songs songs in the 80s and 90s. So this is a play with music, got fantastic songs in it.
Well, let's hear a bit of that music. This is you singing one of the title number from the One Woman Show.
Oh, right, this is new.
We'll leave the past behind us, trapping clues for it to find us. A wiser voice once asked me that I need to bring her back again. Some girl I used to know, she taught me everything, of all the lines that love might sing. Here I am still wondering.
That's the voice of Denise Van Outen. From Some Girl I Used to Know, and there you are talking as well. It's magical, you see, the way this radio works. When you read reviews of the show, lots of people talk about the fact that you've got bucket loads of singing ability, and you can carry all that side of it off. Is that something you felt very confident with?
I guess singing, I love singing, and I did train as a singer when I was younger, and I've done quite a few musicals. I think probably doing the show with Andrew and Don Black, who was the lyricist on Tell Me on a Sunday, I think that probably gave me a bit of a confidence boost, because it's all in song. And I ended up doing that for 10 months at the Gielgud Theatre in the West End. So, the initial contract was for about 3 months, and it got extended because it was so popular, so that kind of gave me a little bit of a confidence boost. But I just enjoy singing. I get so into it. The thing is, because I've co-written this with Terry Ronald, I've chosen the songs that go into the show.
It's all the songs you like.
Songs I love singing. And I do a cover version of Culture Club's Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, but we've stripped it down so it's just all strings, and it sounds really nice. Like, the music is lovely.
So if there's fans of a certain generation of music, 80s and 90s, they will love this show.
Yeah, you definitely. It's a good one for it to reminisce, and if it's got that nostalgic feel to it. But it's also the character is every woman. Well, I've had young girls coming up to me at the stage door who are like 20 and said they can relate to the character. But it's not also just for women. Guys like it too, because the humour's very cheeky, as you would expect from me.
Have you had a few men who've been dragged along by their girlfriends and partners?
Oh yes, yeah, and then said that they've loved it. They've loved it because it's funny. There's some really funny moments.
And do you find that because Strictly is such a televisual beast, isn't it? Do you find that quite a few people have come to see the show on the back of watching you on Strictly?
I'm pretty sure that's the case, yeah. Although I would say that most of the audience that watch Strictly, if they are theatre goers, have probably seen, Tell Me on a Sunday or Chicago, or because it's a very similar audience. So, but yeah, we've definitely got a lot of people from Strictly that picked up a new audience.
OK, listening to Denise Van Outen on 5 Live, talking about her brand new one-woman show called Some Girl I Used to Know. We'll hear Denise, will you stick around and talk to us after the news and sport as well?
I'd love to.
Excellent. More from Lady Van Outen in a moment. Our chat with Denise Van Outen, who is a one-woman show which is touring the UK at the moment, called Some Girl I Used to Know. Denise, Shirley Temple, somebody who had fame on a very different level from starting off as such a young girl at the age of just 3. She started out, and then moving into politics and diplomacy at the end of her career before she died today at the age of 85. We're hearing there from Scott about how she dealt with fame. Have you found fame to be a difficult beast? Because you've been at the forefront of television, of stage, and of, you've got your own radio show as well for such a long time.
Do you know what? I've got nothing to complain about, if I'm really honest. I have my downtime. I've got a place in the country I go to, I get left alone. If I'm in London, it depends where you are, then you get the paparazzi following you, but I can escape it. I don't think I'm known on a level that it's too intrusive. Obviously the downside is that when there are personal situations and you kind of want to deal with them privately, you can't always do that, which can be tricky, but you have to understand when you go into this business, it's kind of part and parcel of what you do. And I can't really complain because I can't sit here and do an interview with you about my play to promote my play and then say I want to be left alone.
I suppose those are the two sides of it, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always accepted that, really. And I've got to be honest, I've never really had it to a level where I can't escape it, So like I said, my daughter's 3 and I'm quite protective of her, obviously, as a mum. And so when I take her to nursery, she doesn't go to a nursery in London because I'm fully aware of the fact that if she was in a nursery in London, there would be paparazzi following us. So, you just have to be sensible about it, really.
Do you think there might be a time in her life, I know she's only 3 at the moment, where you have to sit her down and explain all this to her from I know you say you're not in the public eye as some others are, but from a fame perspective of what happens to you when you go out sometimes?
I think she's sort of starting to become aware of it. Like, you know, she understands that sometimes we get followed, and it's a bit of a strange situation, but she seems to think that all her friends' parents are on TV, so which is quite funny. And weirdly, when I'm in London, a lot of my friends who do come over, who I am friends with, they do work in the business, you know. So even Dr. Ranj, who is the CBeebies doctor,
what a great man he is as well.
He's fantastic, but he's one of my close friends, and I think when she watches him on CBeebies, and then he pops round for a cup of tea, she thinks it's all very bizarre, so she just thinks we're all on TV.
The other thing I find very interesting about you as well is that for many years you've I suppose people have an idea of who you are and the sort of person that you are and your sort of personality, which is quite brash, and you know you've been called a ladette on numerous occasions. But if you read interviews with yourself, or you actually meet you or speak to you as we are now, you come across as a very different person. Is that an image that you put up, or just a misrepresentation of who you are?
Oh, I don't think it's a misrepresentation. I think it's because back in the day when I did the Big Breakfast, I was like that, really. It was an exaggerated version of me. It was the naughty side of me. I mean, I can be mischievous and I've got a bit of a cheeky side to my character. But, you know, I'm coming up to 40 this year and I've got a 3-year-old daughter. I can't behave like that for the rest of my life. So you naturally just grow up. It just so happens that I guess in a way I've kind of lived out my 20s and my 30s in the public eye. It's one of those things that I've kind of just had to sort of, you just grow up, you know. I mean, I'm a mum, I do the school run. Even though I'm on tour now, touring the country, I'm still driving back on a Sunday morning so that I can do the school run on a Monday morning. And then yesterday, I was straight back in the car to Birmingham to do a show. And, you know, so I'm just trying to juggle everything. I certainly don't party like I used to. I wouldn't be able to. I'd be too exhausted.
Well, as you say, you're approaching the age of 40 now. You have to take
Getting
your foot
on
off
a bit now.
You have to take your foot off the gas at some stage.
Exactly. But you know, but yeah, there's still, that's what in my play I get to do a little bit of that, because that's what my character does. She reminisces all about the past and growing up, so I get to have a little burst of dancing on stage.
And talking about living in the world that you live in, and you know the people that you sometimes hang around with as well. I mean, it's impossible to do an interview with you or read an interview with you without people mentioning Lee Mead and that very high-profile relationship you had with him after he starred on the television show that you were part of with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and that's a relationship that has now come to an end. But what is interesting about that is you are still very close with each other, and Lee still plays a big part in his daughter's life.
We're really good friends, and people know that, so there's not really a big story there.
But I think some people will find that quite interesting, that he still plays a very active role, even though the relationship between the two of you hasn't
quite
worked out.
But why wouldn't he?
Well,
why wouldn't he? He's her father. I'm not one of those women that would ever use, like, I know some people do, that the child becomes a weapon to cause hurt, and that's wrong. You should always stay and be very amicable. And
do you think that your daughter, if she wanted to go in the same line of work as you, how would you encourage her to do that when she gets a bit older?
She's only 3, so I don't know what she's going to want to do.
I've got a 3-year-old
I know
myself,
Shirley
Denise,
Temple.
so I know what. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Shirley Temple started at the tender age of 3, bless her. But no, I certainly wouldn't. It's not something I would encourage or discourage. I don't know. It depends if she's passionate about it. You know, I've got a brother and sister. It was the done thing when we were kids. The girls went and did ballet class. The boys did their football, you know, when I was growing up in Essex. I continued with it and I loved it and had a passion for what I do. And my mum and dad saw that, so they encouraged it. But my sister wasn't quite so keen. So it's the same for any parent. I don't want her to go into it if it's not something she wants to do. But the actual school that she's going to go to is quite sporty. And in a way, I kind of missed out on that when I was a kid because I was so busy singing and dancing. I didn't really get to explore that world of sport. So I quite like her to have, you know, a very sort of sporty upbringing, really.
She could be a Winter Olympian of the future, Denise.
Who knows? How exciting.
She's getting
I just want, like all parents, I want her to be happy.
Yeah. And we talked about some of the various things that you've done over the years, the TV, the radio show you've still got going on, and the stage as well. Is there something about the stage, which you're doing at the moment for the next few months across the UK, which is particularly special? That feeling of when the audience stand up at the end and give you that standing ovation and you leave and the heart is beating faster than it's ever beaten before?
It's the adrenaline rush, yeah, and I guess it's the same as sports, I guess. I've got friends who are athletes and they've said exactly the same. You do get a little bit of a buzz from it. I've always liked live performance. It's I kind of enjoy it. It's even when I do my radio show on a Saturday afternoon, I do it live because I love that buzz. I mean, there's no better feeling, is there? I bet you're feeling great right now.
I am quite enjoying myself, actually, yes.
I bet you are.
Should we play another song from your show? This is...
go on
explain, then. This one is a Sonia song, so can you give us a build-up to this? Why is it... This one's been totally reworked, hasn't it?
Totally reworked. Now, I wanted to put this one in the show because I like listening to the melody and lyrics of songs. That's me all over, and I like to break them down. And there's a lot of cheesy pop songs in the 80s that people would never imagine could be a great ballad. This is one of them. It's the Sonia fizzy pop song, You'll Never Stop Me From Loving You, but listen to what we've done to it.
If only you would sing me one more time, and maybe someday you will find that you could really love me, you could really need me, baby, you could change your mind. But you'll
Denise, apologies. We've got the original one, so you're going to have to explain what you've done.
This is very bizarre, because that is not me. That is Sonia.
So
okay, right.
How have you changed this?
Turn that one off.
Yeah.
Turn that one off. I'll tell you what we've done to it. It no longer sounds like that. It now is all strings, and it's a really lovely, slow, heartfelt ballad. And I can assure you it sounds lovely.
And how have the songs been going down with the audience? I mean,
they love them.
And they're all...
Love them.
You say you've slightly changed them a little bit, but they're all classics from the 80s and 90s.
Yes. They are, and yeah, they do, because they, like I said, some of the songs around them, they were great songs, I mean, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, Culture Club, people love it, but when you actually listen to the lyrics and you slow it down and you put strings to it, it's such a beautiful song. And Hold Me Now is another great song. We've made it into this kind of big Phil Spector type number, which is an original Thompson Twins song, so that sounds lovely. But people do really like the music.
Had some people getting in contact via the medium of social media, which is interesting because it builds in a big part of your one-woman show. People want to know whether a woman really can have it all. And this is from a woman who's asking this, because you say that's part of the programme, part of the show is asking whether the character of a woman can actually have it all. So can a woman have it all?
Everything comes at a price, that's what I think. I think you can, but when you watch the show you'll see you can have it all, but will it make you happy?
So what's the overriding feeling the audience go away with at the end of your show?
I think, it depends what stage you're at in your life. Like, I've had tweets from girls or women who've said to me, I wasn't sure about this guy I'm seeing and I've left and now I've made my decision, and whether that be stay with him or leave, or, it just gets you thinking.
And I suppose that's what drama, what shows, what television is all about. It's meant to...
And it's a bit of light entertainment. If you want to have a bit of a giggle and you want to hear some great music, and, you've got a group of friends and you fancy a night out, then I would say this is definitely the play for you.
And what are you doing next when this comes to an end? Because you're touring until March the 19th, that's right, isn't it?
I'm touring until March the 19th, and tickets are available on somegirliusedtoknow.com. And then when I finish, I would like to revisit this, actually. I'd like to play some more venues, so we'll see what happens. But I'm also developing with Kimberly Walsh and Cara Toynton, who are my friends from Strictly Come Dancing. We're developing quite a spectacular dance show for later this year.
Oh, well,
so I'm going to be dusting off my dancing shoes.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Strictly, actually, because you took part in 2012, and lots of people sending in questions to you this afternoon saying, ask Denise if she thought she should have won, because many people thought you were the outstanding favourite in that series, weren't you?
Do you know what? And this is genuine, I wasn't bothered about winning at all. I wanted to learn all the dances, because the thing is that the earlier you go in the competition, then you don't get to do all these fantastic dances. And doing that show is, once you get into it, everyone will tell you get so caught up in it, you don't want it to end. It is really, really good fun. And by the end of it, I just thought, you know what, I've ticked all the boxes, I've learned all the dances I wanted to learn, and that for me was enough. And Lewis Smith is so lovely, and everybody on the show on our year was just great. We got on so well. We weren't worried about who was going to win. I mean, I was thrilled for Lewis, but I really wasn't bothered. I knew when we did on the final that we weren't going to win, and I was absolutely fine with it. I really enjoyed the final because the pressure was off. You
say you all got on so well. There is an expectation, isn't there? Because there is that competitive element and people want to do well, that you all sort of, there's a bit of cat scratching and poking of eyes going on behind the scenes.
It doesn't really exist. It wasn't on our year at all. If anything, I think the pro dancers are more competitive because they've grown up in that world. So it rubs off on you a little bit. And, you can easily lose track of the fact that it's supposed to be just really good fun, because sometimes you put yourself under such immense pressure to do it right or to be good. But that's just the show, you know, you can't help it. And it is, you're going live to millions of people every Saturday night. But I'd say the pros are much more competitive than the celebrities. The celebrities just want to enjoy it and have a good time.
I've got another piece of music for you, okay? I think this is the right one. Does this bring back some memories?
Ah, my Charleston, yes, it does. Yeah, we danced this at Wembley Arena and got tens.
Now, the moment of as somebody who's, you know, been on stage, done things before, that moment when you get the 4 tens on Strictly Come Dancing. I remember I've spoken to Susanna Reid about this, to Michael Vaughan and others who've taken part in Strictly. Put that on a level of other things you've achieved in your life. Where does it rank?
Well, do you know what? At the time, it literally feels like... I mean, I've done things in my career that I've looked back and think, oh, that was a bit of a wow moment, like doing Chicago on Broadway. And I remember being more excited about getting tens in for my Charleston. But again, it's because you're in that big group environment and everyone's cheering you. But it is a lovely feeling. I mean, Strictly does what it says on the tin. You know, it's glamorous, it's good fun, the whole family can watch it. So, you know, it does feel like quite a special time in your life to be able to do it. And you have to keep reminding yourself, you only get to do it once. So enjoy it. Because I remember talking to Sophie Ellis-Bextor about it, and she was like, I'm petrified every Saturday night. And I said, the best piece of advice somebody said to me was just have a ball, because you will only get to do it once. And she was like, do you know what? Now you've told me that's going to stick in my head, and I will relax and enjoy it more.
There are very few TV programmes like that, though, aren't there? Where, I mean, there are some of them around, but where the whole family can sit down and you can have a conversation with a 7-year-old in the same way that you can have with an 85-year-old who'll watch it as well over the weekend, and then spend their Sunday and their Monday talking about who they thought should have got through, who got kicked out, what dance was the best.
Yeah, it's one for all the family. It's great. And, you know, it's like my daughter's getting older now, and so she's starting to get into all those sort of programmes, you know, watching Dancing on Ice and Strictly. And so it's nice. It's nice to know that as a family you can sit and watch something like that. You know, the grandparents can join in as well.
Denise, it's been fantastic to talk to you on 5 Live. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you continue to tour until March the 19th. Denise's one-woman show, Some Girl I Used to Know, is available at theatres throughout the United Kingdom. That is Denise Van Outen on 5 Live. Now to...